And good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening to everyone listening, joining this podcast. Thank you very much for joining. And today I have a colleague and an ex-colleague in this podcast, in this ISV Business Central podcast. Peter, thank you so much for joining straight out of Sweden, and Kurt, straight out of Belgium. We're both based in Belgium. And before going to you, Peter, let me first give the word quickly to Kurt, just to introduce himself, where he sits in the Microsoft organization, and what you do, Kurt. If you could quickly explain or go deeper on that, would be great.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Kurt. I'm part of the Business Central team inside Microsoft, and I am actually having the honors of being able to work with our partner ecosystem in ensuring that they are successful in the cloud. So I'm focused quite a bit on ISVs, but I also have the privilege to work with our partner ecosystem to ensure that we can help them from a capacity perspective. So these are actually my two focus points: ISVs and capacity.
And you're also already for a very long time within Microsoft, right?
This month, 18 years. So it's
18.
18. Absolutely. That's a long time. Yes, absolutely.
That's a long time. It's a very long time. So, well, thank you, Kurt, for joining. And I hope this will not be the last call we have together.
Sure.
Well, we have
many
calls scheduled ahead. I hope you can join them as well, because I really think it's going to be a lot of added value, getting also your perspective when talking to ISVs like 4PS. I'm not sure if I already mentioned the name 4PS, but
I will show the sign so you know you're talking to 4PS, but maybe it's a bit confusing because I've been around a little bit in this community, of course. Yeah.
And not only this community, but also with Microsoft, Peter. That's where we met.
Yes.
Like 15, 20 years ago. But please introduce yourself.
Yeah, this feels really like a reunion of good Belgian friends, and the creative part of Microsoft, because I was thinking both admiring you. You always think from a partner perspective and trying to help the partner. But first about me. So Peter, currently responsible for 4PS in Sweden. I joined that company back this summer in July. But I've been working in the Microsoft community, started actually at Navision back in the Netherlands back in 2001. So I've been around for some years, still no gray hairs in this community, and did different roles within Microsoft. So Ingmar and I, we did partner recruitment back in the days and built a fantastic partner channel, both in the Netherlands and Belgium. Remember that? I moved to Sweden, did similar work there, and I also was responsible for the ISVs from a commercial perspective, building on the Dynamics platform for a couple of years before I left Microsoft in 2016 and joined partners in the community. So I had a role at Alice Retail, another large ISV in this community, for 6 years, and working through a partner channel. And this role I'm in today is working directly. So I'm learning the different perspectives and keep on learning in this community, but always Microsoft Dynamics and mainly with the Business Central platform. So yeah, nice to be here.
Well, thank you, Peter. And I didn't realize that you started at Navision just the same year as I did in 2000. Oh, I started in October 2001, and you probably before.
It's in September, so just one month more. Yeah, 1st of September. Yes, it's a small world.
Yeah, indeed. Now you haven't talked. Well, you mentioned 4PS, but maybe it's good also to explain a bit. What is 4PS? What are they good at? What is your expertise, or what is the expertise of 4PS? From a global perspective, you're not only in Sweden. You're, I think, the HQ is in Netherlands.
Absolutely, yes.
Please,
yeah. So
enlighten us on that.
4PS will be. It's almost around for 25 years. Next year it's a 25-year celebration. So be ready for a nice invitation. I hope you will. Of course, we will invite you. No, but it's funny because I've been following them since I started my career at Navision. But 4PS came at that time to Navision saying, we really know a lot about the construction and installation industry, or the construction industry, and we want to build a standard application on that Navision platform. And so they started, and they really developed this nicely. And of course, when it became Microsoft, they really got the innovation from Microsoft behind it, and have built up an extremely successful organization with almost 600 customers in construction and installation. First, mainly focusing on the Dutch market, where there's a very large market share. I think of the top 50 customers, more than 60% runs 4PS, and these are the largest construction and installation companies in the Netherlands, but also in other countries like in Belgium, in the UK, in Germany, and now since a couple of months also in Sweden. 4PS got acquired by the Hilti group out of Liechtenstein, which is a huge player in construction, mainly in the hardware, about a year ago. They are 6,000 people, 6 billion revenue, 32,000 people. So it's a main force behind this company now, and also having growth ambitions in the software part of the business. So, but 4PS is always going to market directly, a direct engagement. So it's both product as well as consulting combined, and just for basically one industry. Although you can divide the industry construction into more micro verticals, if you want to call it like that. Yeah.
Hey, Peter, there's quite a bit of consolidation happening in the market at this moment in time. You just mentioned 4PS recently got acquired by Hilti.
Yeah.
Why is this one so special and so different?
I think this is different because it's really an industry player that's not really in the software space, that buys themselves into the software space. And I think Satya Nadella said every company is a software company. And this is kind of the proof that they realize without software, we cannot, long term, we cannot survive. It's a super healthy company, but they know that software is important. So they started with tracking software, asset management. You know, you got all the drilling machines, you want to know where they are, which is the first software element. And then they started with acquiring another company in this industry, Fieldwire, which is more on the construction place. And then I realized that we need what's the heart and the soul of software. And that's the ERP. It's the enterprise resource planning. It's getting control of all your processes, project management, service and maintenance, keeping track on that. And they realized that 4PS is the best equipped one to fuel their growth ambition into software. And this was a no business 5 years ago, and it's doing more than 100 million annual recurring revenue already. So it's a very fast growing business within Hilti, but it's special because typically what you see, Dynamics partners acquire each other and they grow bigger and bigger. This is an outsider that comes into the market and says, we want to be a player in this market. And that makes it unique. And you see there's so much overlap because they speak the language of this industry like our team does. So it's funny to see because it feels like we've been together for many more years. And I think you saw that on our customer day last week, Kurt, you were there, how well it's integrated already.
What I really appreciate about the Hilti is their long-term vision, right? They're thinking about plans from now till 2030 and from 2030 till 2040. That's quite unique in our industry, I would say.
It's unique, and it's also because they're not venture capitalist owned, so it's not a very short-term focus, but all respect for venture capitalists, because I think there are a lot of good work within our industry and help companies to grow. But this is a family-owned business, and that's also what you see back in their culture and their DNA. It's a lot about long-term, yes. It's a lot about the staff, the people. It's about learning. So I really, I've only in for 3 months, but I really see that they are extremely serious about this business and the long-term perspective. And it also helped me in Sweden to build a team because I've got already 15 employees, and we just started 3 months ago. That's not too many that can do that. And that's fantastic.
Peter, you talked about 4PS. Can you talk or explain a bit about its geo work, where you are present today?
Yeah. So today it's I would say it's still a small area of the world. So of course the Netherlands, Belgium, UK, Germany, and the Nordics. And the Nordics is my team in Sweden, but we also will look at Finland, Norway, and Denmark. And we do actually have customers. If you look at the customer base, then we do have customers in, I think, more than 70 countries, but it's mainly Belgium, UK, Dutch construction companies that also implement abroad. So we have a large team now in Dubai because one of the larger Belgium construction companies is rolling out our software also in that part of the world. In our growth ambition, it's to really become a global player. But Europe will be the main markets to go into, and this will be with a direct approach like we're doing in Sweden, so building up our own teams, but then also getting across the ocean, so US and other parts.
So that brings me always to the point of, well, today as an ISV, like scalability, it's not a question of are we going to do it? It's rather a question, when are we going to do it and how fast can we do it? Can you talk a bit about that, Peter? Like the challenges that you see, well, the challenges and opportunities that you see from a scalability perspective, because going to another country is, well, maybe Belgium, Netherlands is easier because of the language, similar-ish kind of language. But then Sweden, of course, you worked with an SI, I believe. But then going to, you mentioned US, potentially other countries, well, Germany, then you have Austria, you have Switzerland, maybe Italy, Spain. Can you talk about or explain a bit about the challenges, the opportunities, but also how 4PS can scale easier because of its current size?
Yeah. So maybe to start with that, I mean, the opportunity is huge because the construction market is the one that's least digitalized if you compare to a lot of other industries. So there's still a lot of improvement to increase the productivity within construction companies. And there's a lot of McKinsey and other reports out there that show that there's still a lot to be done. And it is exactly what we at 4PS help with, to digitalize all the processes and get full insight in what's happening in the business. Because in the end, the money is made on the construction site, and how much time, so time of people and material you spend there to make it as effective as possible. So that's a huge opportunity. And if you look at the global market space, there's not really one leading player in that industry. And we believe we can be that one player, also given the background of Hilti, who has a very good access to the construction company owners because of the way they sell their hardware as an asset management for many years already, and they're well known as a brand. And as a software company, the challenge going international is always that there's not one size fits all, and especially in industries, there's always a localization element. And I see it today in the basics of the application. It's a Dutch-built application, and there's nothing wrong with that. But construction companies are a little bit different the way they work in Sweden, and a little bit different the way they work in Norway. And a little bit different, you need to be able to capture that in your product. So the product management part of those layers becomes extremely important. And then there's the must-haves, the requirements. A lot is already covered by Microsoft, of course, the financial part. But there's also the should-have. So if you really want to succeed, it would be nice if it fits. So I see it, for example, in the way construction workers book their hours on a site. It's a bit different than it is in the Netherlands. They put more financial elements to it. So those tweaks, you need to be able, as a software supplier, if you want to go global, to capture and put your team on. Meaning you need resources to build that. So in my team, we already have 2 developers just dedicated to that, where it's a very small layer, what's needed to build in the Nordics. But if you go to other markets, especially if you go more, to the US or other ones, it's my experience from Alice Retail, it becomes more and more complex, and you need to be able to manage that. And especially when you run your software in the cloud with all the updates, you need to stay ahead of that. And that's where that's a challenge, but it's not a very difficult challenge to overcome. But you need to get it organized in this. And then in general, if you grow as a company, and many of those companies, they started with owners that had a great idea and they built a fantastic business. I see it with many ISVs. But bring it to the next level, you need to have a kind of corporate structure in it, and that's what we learn a lot from Hilti. I mean, they know how to, organize their legal department, their financial department, all of this. And sometimes that's a bit of a culture clash. I think that's needed to really become a global player. I mean, if you want to play as a market leader in construction software, you need to have that type of and that's just an evolvement. But it takes time, and then you need to have the muscles, sort of financial muscles, to do this. Last challenge, and that's where something where I already liked is your creativity in this, but I think it's all about the talent in the market, and we all know Business Central. If you want to find Business Central talent, good luck finding them. But luckily, Kurt came with a great idea, and he and his team built this talent program, which really helps to not only attract new people to this community, but also to get them going and learn things. So in Sweden, we are really using this program as well to look at who do we need in the market, but also to get them trained. And it's not just the product training, but also the soft skills training. So I know my team is doing a soft skills training starting next week, which is super powerful, because we need to bring in the next generation into this community, and that can hold us back if we don't work on that part. So that's another key element, I would say.
I love that you're already building that next generation of BC talent. We need to start that today, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. You've been living in this community for a very long time. You have been with a few ISVs. Also, when you were working for Microsoft, you had a passion for ISVs. What would you say today is the overall opportunity for ISVs, and what would be, let's say, the top 3 trips if you're a beginning ISVs, and what you need to focus on to be successful within this community?
Yeah. It's good that you've seen that. Good. I love this community, and I love the ISVs, because I always said, if you bring Microsoft together, which is it's the number one cloud platform these days, there's so much innovation in it. We saw it last week at our customer day. The AI revolution inside Business Central is just mind blowing. There's so much innovation in it, but if you then combine it with the industry knowledge of an ISV, I think industry knowledge is one a little bit different ISV maybe. Bring it together, then it's an unbeatable combination. And I've always believed in that, and I've seen many ISVs that do this. But then bring it to the next level, so growing out of your country into becoming a global player. That's a challenge, but you need to believe in that. And I believe the market opportunity is there. We see in some industries we're there, but look at our own industry, huge opportunity. If I look at LS Retail's opportunity, still a huge opportunity. But you also see that the type of customer knocking on our doors is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, these are not small construction companies we work with these days, or we've never done actually, or on the LS Retail side, a lot of large retailers. But you need to believe in it, and I think you need to, as a tip, build your team like a global team from day one. So you need to see the world as your marketplace rather than Belgium or France or Spain. There's so much more opportunity. Believe in that, because the backbone you get from Microsoft with the platform is really successful. You can do that. So you need to think of that. And I think the other thing is that you need to have some corporate thinking in it. You need to think in, it sounds very boring, but you need to think in processes and procedures to be able to follow that growth. And I see many got stuck in the ISV community because it was too much depending on people and persons rather than on a global company. I think that's where, you both still work at Microsoft, but you underestimate what you learn once you get outside on how important it is to work in a structured, in a corporate company. So if you can infuse that, then you really can grow your business a lot faster, I would say. And we get it through Hilti at 4PS, but I think it's something that you should not underestimate. Yeah, now you all got quiet, huh?
Yeah, well, because I have 2 questions, and one question I was already thinking of before starting the call. Like, you've worked at Microsoft. We are mostly a very structured company. Now going into, you start with LS Retail, 4PS. I think you're bringing a lot of corporate knowledge to the partner, but now you also potentially see the difficulty or the challenges, let me put it that way, in working with Microsoft.
Yeah. Every day. No. No.
Don't exaggerate, Peter.
No. It's just it's kidding, but because there's a very good side of it, and it has a challenging side to it. And I think I've learned, listened to some of the other podcasts. I think most of the people express it the same. The innovation power and what's coming to is uniquely, and it helps us to sell the solutions to the type of customers we sell to, because a lot of this, they do it because they know it's built on the number one platform in the world. And I think the product team in Denmark, and we all know them, and Kurt is part of this, they are super eager to help and to work on this. Then the complexity is, it's a huge organization, and finding then the people to just think commercially to bring it to the next level, help out, both in, let's say, the sales and the marketing alignment, but also a bit, and I know it came up in some of the articles on the how is the licensing code work in the cloud world? How do you make it easier? So remove some of the barriers there are today will just help it. And finding that knowledge and support in Microsoft is not that easy anymore, because it's a big company, and Dynamics is a lot more integrated these days within the bigger organization. True. Where maybe before in our days it was like a separate group and they still had the knowledge people. You still had the people that knew it all about. They don't exist anymore. But it leads to some frustration now and then, because we can sell deals, but we need to team up together. Yeah. And I think there's still room for improvement, to say it nicely, on that side.
Fair points.
Program-wise, I would say, without Microsoft, none of the ISV would have been in the place they are in today. So it's it's good and bad.
I think it's a very valid concern. How would you, as an ISV, navigate that challenge at this moment in time? I'm thinking about be present in the community, come to the directions, things. But you must have tips as well, where you basically say, like, to stay updated, to stay connected. Like, what are some of the things that you would recommend ISVs that are going through that challenge at this moment?
Yeah, it's almost recommendable to have at least somebody dedicated to the partnership, because there's a lot of different elements into it. I mean, in all honesty, we don't really have it at 4PS. We kind of had it at LS. Obviously, I have my background in the community, so I'm trying to help out on that. But it's good to stay closely aligned. And I think with Microsoft, people are. It's not that they're not willing to help. It's more that it need to see the business case behind it. So, in my advice would always be speak from the feedback you get from your customers, and bring that customer community together as well. Because if you bring 10 large construction companies together and they ask you, Kurt, or you ask your boss, Mike Morton, like, hey, this is a challenge for us, they're willing to listen. Microsoft, your organization is willing to listen, but just getting it through and change things, especially when it's commercial elements, it's not that easy. And it's not, and the empowerment to find that person that can make that decision is just more complex. But still, you need to work on that. So have somebody dedicated on it, but also make sure that you have your customer speaking for you. And I'm always surprised, because I'm very proud of every customer that's running on Business Central, and they say, if you then between the different industries, but do you know that this customer is running Business Central? Do you know this customer is running Business Central? And they're all surprised. So I think we underestimate how many large customers are running on that platform, and also how they can help each other. Also, the customers can help each other. So we have this customer Nordic forum here that was started actually by the customers themselves, where our customers, they get together and learn from each other, and we also part of that. It also shows that customers care, and that's a powerful group to incorporate, because Directions is partners only. But I think we should be, you had convergence before. You remember those days? I think that direct customer engagement with customers running our platform, that's something where also I think Microsoft can somehow be part of it. And now the large ISVs like 4PS, we run our customer days, and you're part of it, and your team did a great show last week. But that's very important. So bringing that customer to Microsoft is something that I would recommend any ISV to do.
Yeah, and maybe if I can add to that a little bit, is that it's not only about, as you just said, it's harder to find people inside Microsoft that have the passion for you as an ISVs, but we see that everything is shifting towards programs. We have quite a bit of programs available as well for our partners, HVP programs, the concierge programs, the talent program. It is, of course, not always easy to find them. But there is, of course, quite a bit available, and we would also, of course, also encourage everybody on the call to ensure that they, are constantly on the lookout, as Peter said, dedicate somebody constantly on the lookout of what we make available for this ecosystem.
No, exactly.
But it's a very, very valid point, Peter.
It's a valid point, and that person, because it's a role, it earns itself back. Because if you see just the incentives that are available, they are very good, but people are not aware of it. So it's a lot of the communication. Like you said, the concierge program. It's a fantastic program. I think too few are not aware of it. Maybe it's good because it's not that scalable, but it's extremely good to help customers to move to the cloud. So yeah.
But also adding to what you're saying, Peter and Kurt. So yesterday I was talking to a colleague of mine who told me like, hey, a certain partner, large partner, had a dedicated Microsoft program person focused on the Microsoft programs, just from a revenue perspective. And this person, just by aligning to the programs, submitting information, got around $600,000 in incentives from Microsoft.
Yep.
And to be clear, this not only exists for large enterprises, this also exists for our Business Central partners that are using CSP in most, I think all cases. So also from a CSP indirect and direct perspective, there are a lot of incentives that are available for all partners that are, you need to spend time. I think that's your wording, Peter. You need to have someone that really goes deep into those programs, fills in all the requirements.
Yeah.
But then once you're in it, well, you get a lot of incentives as cashback or real money towards your account.
Yeah, I would say it's a hell of a process, but the value you get out of it is also there. So that's why it requires dedication. You cannot ask somebody, can you do this on a Friday afternoon, 2 hours?
No.
You want to be able to cope with it. You need that dedication, but it has an absolute value. Yeah.
Now, 5 minutes ago, I said like I have 2 questions. So I've asked 1 question, and then
number 2.
We got on to that question. But then I have a second question. One, you mentioned somewhere in the half of this conversation, like, hey, the construction industry, it's a, between brackets, conservative industry from a digitization perspective.
Yeah.
At the same time, you also mentioned like, hey, Microsoft is a great company to work with from an innovation perspective. May that be just the infrastructure, but also all the cloud services we are delivering. And I think today it's really about the wording AI. That's Copilot. That's high on the radar. But independent of Copilot, we are launching or pushing a lot of innovation towards our partner Dynamics channel.
Yeah.
Every X months, there's a new release or a partial release of Business Central. So from a 4PS or even a Business Central perspective, Peter, how does the Business Central partner decide, hey, this is where I'm going to innovate, and this is where I'm not going to innovate at this moment? How do you make that balance? As an outsider, not being in the partner channel, I think it's a huge, it's not huge, it's very difficult to make a decision. Hey, what's going to be successful? What's not going to be successful? Where should I put my money?
Yeah, exactly. I from a product development perspective, I think it's absolutely a huge challenge. So it's also there to stay up to date. Luckily, within 4PS, we have a lot of MVPs that are super dedicated to the platform and learn a lot about the technology and what's coming, and can make decisions on what should we do. And it's also, I think, trial and error. I mean, I saw, the way we use Power Platform, it's more and more getting integrated into our daily work and how we bring our solutions to market. But that's something that's just that piece is a huge part of software where there's a lot of development in. So then deciding what to use and what not to use. I mean, that's an R&D question, obviously. I don't think it's an easy one, but you need to also to stay up to date on that part, and having people dedicated to that. Luckily, I said we do have them in 4PS, and it's super valuable to make those type of decisions. But it's also but it's going faster and faster, because the thing that flabbergasted me last week on the customer day, when I know you're all about AI, and we know how this works in the large corporate organizations. You talk only about the trend. It was cloud. Now it's AI and AI and I. And the first version is always PowerPoint. Just be realistic. Last year at Directions in November, some AI part was shown. You're like, okay, this is still at the PowerPoint level. But now we're like, what is it like? Less than a year ago, and the way it's integrated now in Business Central and the value you get out of it, it's mind blowing. And obviously, as an ISV, you need to stay ahead of that curve. What are you going to use and integrate it? So that's.
But you talked about. Sorry, Peter, to interrupt you, because I always get excited when I talk about the innovation, and talking to, of course, to partners like yourself. But you talked about MVP, which is internal. But how do you get the innovation from the outside into your insights? I mean, you have 600 customers. I'm sure that all of these 600 customers might have 600 different ideas on, hey, what's next?
Yeah.
They think about innovation. So how do you capture that innovation and create like a standard innovation pack for next versions?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, a very good question. And we use a bit like Microsoft Dynamics is using. You got your IDs. You can bring in your IDs. We've got what we call the expert panels. So in different areas for our software, if it's service and maintenance, or if it's AI, or if it's service maintenance, we have expert panels from our customers that come together and can bring in their IDs and elaborate on that. And I think there's a lot you can do around it. It's always how do you get this organized and structured and valuable, because the risk if you do it, if it's going to be more people just talking and there's not really coming anything out of it. But also there, I think software innovation can help to quickly capture it. If you look at Microsoft Dynamics Business Central IDs, it's really incorporated into the development process. That makes a lot of sense. Also to stay ahead of what's coming. We also have, and that's maybe also again with Hilti, of course, there's a lot of people out there looking at what are the trends and what's happening and how to incorporate that. So having the muscles also to be able to be out and look at innovation. We have this whole Hilti Ventures group that looks at investments into new innovations, may it be AI or robomathematics or all of this. But you always need to stay ahead of the curve. You need to be moving forward.
It's extremely powerful what you just said with the custom communities, because you get the feedback from the customers, you get consolidated feedback, but you also get the buy-in from the customer. Like when you come up with that next new release, that they will adopt these new things, and that might be a new revenue opportunity for you as well, and everybody feels involved. So I think it's a super valuable.
And there's a lot of ambassadors out there. In any customer community, they really want to help because they feel this is so good, and I've made a decision. It was funny to see on the customer day. I'm referring a lot to it, but it was then the people that made the decision for 4PS, with all respect in Sweden. We were a small Dutch company, and they said this is a good solution. We want it. Now they saw the bigger picture. They saw the innovation, and many of the people that make the decisions are the CFOs in the company, because they are the ones that have the budgets for large ERP implementations. And they saw the analytic parts of AI in Business Central, and they were like, "Wow, we really made the right decision. This is fantastic." They were, let's go to the cloud right away, because to get that innovation in their hands. So I think that's a good point on keeping the customers close to you and let them be part of the decision making on what's next.
Great. Excuse me, almost at the end, Peter, Kurt. My last question, although you already answered it a bit, Peter, my last question is always, if there would be one thing that you could suggest to Microsoft, like, hey guys, if you would do A, B, or C, this would really help not only my 4PS business from a growth perspective, it could help the entire or most of the ISVs within the Business Central community. What would be that one suggestion, one ask to Microsoft, or potentially two asks, Peter, that you would raise to Kurt, to Mike, to the Business Central leadership team?
Yeah, I raised a few maybe, and maybe it's more than one, but one thing is that the power of the end customer really liking what Microsoft and we as ISVs are doing. Encourage that. So one thing is this: if you look at Salesforce, SAP, and all these other big competitors out in the market, they're extremely good in bringing that community together and give a lot of energy boost. I feel that convergence kind of event is kind of missing for these type of customers. So that's one element where I would say if you bring that community in as well, it's becoming even more powerful. I think there's strong partner communities, especially Directions is a very strong partner community, but bring that customer part in it. And then related to that is, it would be so nice if there would be more people in the respective countries that understand that value of the combination of ISV and Microsoft and help to remove barriers. So opening up doors showing the value of that. And that's a role that's missing, because it also helps to get the feedback that you always get, because you care about this community, which is similar for all ISVs. Get it back also to the leadership of Microsoft, and make some tweaks and changes just to enable even more to grow our business. And that's kind of the feedback I think you've seen, Ingmar, in the other 7 or 8 podcasts you've done already. It comes back to the same, and it's not that difficult to change it, but it's just people realize it helps this community to grow even faster. And
I agree.
I mean, again, back to the opportunity. There's a lot of markets still to be won together, and why not capture it? But we said the same 20 years ago when we started, so it's like in 20 years from now, then we can still sit there with a good Belgian beer and say, wow, there's still a lot of market opportunity ahead of us.
I hold you to that.
Yes.
That's great call, Peter. Thank you so much. Well, maybe any closing comments from you, Kurt, or Peter? Maybe you have some questions.
No, I just like. I mean, this is typical Ingmar. I would say that you started this. You bring that community together, and do this. And it's the same for Kurt. I mean, the programs you've launched is exactly what partners need, and getting close to the partners, understanding the partners. If we can double that and get more people out there that do it, then we go back to what I just said. So thanks for doing this. Looking forward to see you in. I hope you're coming to Vienna, Ingmar, because I'm sure Kurt will be there at Directions, and then we can take that beer. Maybe not wait 20 years, just take it next month.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter. Really, always great to see you. Of course, great to hear how you look at the Business Central ISV community. Thank you for sharing all your insights, Kurt. Also, thank you very much. I hope not the last time. I hope we'll have many more calls together. Have a very good day, Peter and Kurt, and talk very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Peter. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.